Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Opto 22 and Grafana webinar. We're going to start right at the hour. We are recording this, so you'll be able to access it today. It's December 3rd, 2025, and here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about who Opto 22 is. We're going to introduce ourselves then, and I want to do it in that order because it's really Grant who's going to be able to explain a lot what Grafana is today and how we use it. And one thing I should mention, when I started this webinar, when we first had this idea, when I first had this idea, I thought, well, the graphics that Grant has are just so impressive. I really want people to see that. And what I've learned throughout this uh, creating of this webinar with Grant is how many Opto 22 users already use Grafana to some extent. So it's gone from something, this is something really cool that you're going to want to check out, to this is something that a lot of our partners are already using, and come and see how that's done. So with that, we're going to start with who Opto 22 is, and I'm going to rush through these because, again, this is recorded and you could read it at your leisure. So Opto 22, 50 plus year technology innovator. We've always manufactured in the US. We have about 100 million IO points physically throughout the world with 10,000 customers, lifetime warranty on our hardware, no planned obsolescence, and we basically connect the OT to the IT. So in this diagram, quickly, on one side, you're going to have your PLCs, your physical devices, your sensors, and in one device, be able to now separate that from your IT network where you're using AI, ML, in this case, Grafana, databases, historians, and be able to securely keep the two separate, but be able to share the data that you need. So here's a picture of our manufacturing plant. All the devices that we're going to talk about today, we have in stock because we control the manufacturing, all bits of manufacturing to it. And this is just some of the few industries, most popular industries that we're in, with manufacturing, data centers, mining, and go retail centers and the like. So now, before I convert it, transfer over to Grant, I want to introduce who he is. He's an operational technology specialist, and since he won't toot his own horn, I'll do it for him. And that is, he's won, and I'm not going to do it justice. You won several awards from Grafana already because of the project that you're going to share with us, but also for your contributions to the community. And same with, I've seen awards lately for you from the Linux Foundation and several others. So we're really, I'm here on your behalf to ask Grant questions about his cool project. And if you have any questions, please feel free to share them. So before we start, hand it over to Grant, I did want to ask everyone here if you are familiar with Grafana. So you should be seeing a poll here of if you've heard of Grafana. And if you would kindly reply to that, we're just going to give everyone about 20 seconds. And then we will end the poll and share it so we can see who we have here today. That's pretty good. I'm going to end it and share the results. So you should see here, it looks like almost perfect mix, except for the two that use it often. Everyone's, the majority have used it to some extent and some not used it at all. So with that, so we have that bit of a starting point. I'm going to now hand it over to Grant to be able to take it from here. So Grant.
Thank you, Rene. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So Grafana is a observability platform. And so the first thing we'll talk about is what is observability? It is a place where we can gain insight and visualization to the data that we're collecting in our systems. So if you look at our diagram that we have here, we've got data coming in into a database, a data store, and then out to your observability platform. Now, in our case, that's going to be Grafana. And for the data portion, we're going to pull those in with different Opto 22 devices through the groov EPIC in this case. If you look above, we've got a ton of industrial protocols we can pull in and get into that data store so we can pass it on to Grafana. And that data store can be a huge variety from Microsoft SQL Server, time series databases like InfluxDB, enterprise grade like Canary, uh, Timebase, Timescale, Victoria Metrics, tons of open source and enterprise offerings can hook up to Grafana where you can visualize that data. Um, some architectures that we employ look like this. On our OT side, we have controllers that go into an EPIC as a concentrator. Node-RED then processes it and pushes it out to our data store. We use Influx, SQL, Postgres, many different ones going into Grafana. If you have a larger system, more distributed, you can also take the route of MQTT. You can have different stations. In our case, we do this with our lift stations and pump stations, as well as water, going into a groov epic and then transmitting those messages using Ignition Edge and the device drivers using Sparkplug to the broker. And then we ingest that into our database. And you can do this in a highly scalable way now that you're using MQTT and a broker as that central data hub. So without further ado, I'm going to get into Grafana itself. So we're going to move on over and have a look at our water system. So the City of Morro Bay has been using Snap-Pack systems from Opto 22 in the water system since about 2015. Um, when I took the helm of the system, I implemented databases and we needed a place to visualize that data that we were gaining insights on the system. So we use Grafana for that. So what we're looking at right now is the total system volume over 30 days, loss and gain calculations that are calculated at the PLC level and recorded in the database. And this lets us know if the volume in the tanks are enough to serve the citizens, whether we're trending up or trending down. Down below, we have total system volumes and influent flow, as well as daily totalizers over that same 30-day window. And below that, we have samples of chlorine that we take weekly at all of the tanks. This is the most recent sample, and these particular data sources are actually from our CMMS. So we're making API calls to that SaaS offering, that enterprise software, and combining it with process SCADA data all in a single platform, which helps the operations staff only have one place to look. Um, if I drop in, we can visit a tank site. So this is a 2-day tank trend. We can see the number of tank cycles and the patterns that happen below. We've got pump indications. If you notice the tooltip, I can highly customize the end product of Grafana to where I can give custom names to the level, the units for the level, the trend, the valves position are mapped to open and closed. So you can see those changing, even colors changing, green for open or on, and red, all within the tooltip as you kind of move through time. We can adjust our time frame, even zoom into a specific time to kind of enhance our ability to see what's going on with that particular chart. So Grafana is really powerful with this time series data, but we also use it for some geospatial. Here's some maps that I actually just finished yesterday. Now, these ones pull data off of our CMMS, and these are samples that we take every week and also monthly samples throughout the system. They're sample taps where we have chlorine residuals that we gather, put into the system, and then now we can recall it throughout and see what those residuals were and where that was. So this is a tank site. You can also see that there's temperature that's reported as part of that sample data, even a link that pushes us to that enterprise software. This is a point map. So different points are mapped directly, but we can also do heat maps. There's a ton of options within Grafana to visualize data in different and interesting ways. I'm going to move back to the home one more time. And I wanted to point out that up here at the top, uh, this is some more operational insight that we gained from our CMMS. These are meter on and offs that the water crew watches every day. They also get this indication on their phones, but when they're in the control center, they can easily see what the workload is in the morning when they roll in. USAs are the painting the street for utility work underground. So we respond to those to make sure that our utilities are marked, and this helps us gain visibility to that. So we know there's two that need to be done right now. Guys walk in at lunch and they can clearly see what they need to do when they get back out in the field. So this serves as a tremendous resource because now we have all the data at our fingertips. If there's a tank in question, a pump failure, we can go to that particular chart and dig into that data. So I'm going to move over to the wastewater side. We've been so successful with Grafana that I didn't want to house it on a single instance. So we have one for our clean water data and one for the wastewater. So I'm going to move over there now. Move to the home screen here. Um, so this is a close to real time. It refreshes every 5 seconds and it gives us kind of key indicators for each particular process. It's a combination of a wide variety of the visualizations that Grafana offers, from gauges to all the way to time series line data, and you can even embed videos if it fits your application. So again, Grafana is incredibly flexible, and it allows us to organize that data in a very logical way. Down here are navigational buttons that allow me to get into other process areas. So this particular screen is organized in columns, and the buttons below correspond with that particular process area. So if I need to dig in to what's happening in our B&R section and see all the equipment within, I can see many different dashboards that are built for specific metrics to give insight. So I'm going to go to B&R Combined, where we have just a ton of information that we can gain from what the process has been over the last 12 hours. If I want to see 24, I can adjust the time range. We're going to back out. Again, this is a very developed screen where even the tooltips, all the units are correct. It's as clean as possible for the end user. So they have all the information that they need and nothing that's really going to overwhelm them. In our case, there is times when we need to dig down to the second. So I have the ability to adjust the aggregation down to 1 second. So we're going to go 1 second over 24 hours, and it's going to make it work because that's a lot of data points on this screen, but it will load it. And this is just going to kind of showcase the how hard you can push the platform. The this
That's what
particular
everyone's going to want by default. Like
yeah
I want my
yeah
water temperature at a second
yeah
resolution every day.
but you can see here now that the resolution of the graphs are much more
Wow.
granular, and it might give me insight that was being hidden in like aggregation, averages over 5 minutes. So then I can, if I want to see what happened in this area, why did the RAS flow drop 1,000 gallons in this area? We can drop in, and then all of the graphs are going to kind of move into that time range, and then we can try and figure out, problem solve what's going on. We use this a lot for our dissolved oxygen, and it helps us tune the DO in the basin for the microbiology. So speaking of microbiology, one of the things that is unique about Grafana is that you can use so many data sources, and even the community has created very open ways to build your own plugins, do heavily customized applications. In our case, we had videos that were being taken from a microscope, and we needed a place to observe them and recall them. And so I was able to use a community-based plugin to build a way to view these videos within the same platform that we view all of our data. So down at the bottom is a kind of tooltip of videos, a thumbnail of videos. I can click on one, it'll pull it up, and I can see the timestamp above it. And this is not necessarily a native feature of Grafana, but again, it showcases how flexible it is. One community plugin that allowed you to run JavaScript directly inside of this widget allows you to build something like this. And on the back end, we have connections to Node-RED that would allow me to update the metadata for this particular video. If I observed a certain microbe and I wanted to document it for the team, I could put notes in there, even label who was observed inside. Another great thing about Grafana is how they help you organize your data with variables on the dashboard like drop downs. So I can actually look for one type of organism, and it's going to pull up all the videos associated with that particular one, and then I can get to it very quickly. So as I
Thing
mentioned,
I wanted to mention here is just when I first saw it, it took me a while to figure it out. But this is your treatment train for the water plant from left to right, is it not?
yes, yeah, it is. It's the flow. The influent is on the left side, so flow left to right. And by this column, the effluent is leaving for the ocean.
Excellent.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, there's a huge amount of data sources for Grafana. So it allows us to bring data from across the organization into a single platform. And again, it's an open source software, if we didn't say that already. So you're free to go and use it, self-host it. So it's something that you can leverage very quickly in your organization, should you choose to do so. So what I'm looking at here are all the plugins that are available inside of Grafana. So the two main plugins are data sources, and panels. So I'm just going to scroll through and you can see that there is just a ton of data sources. So depending on where your data is, most likely you can get it easily into Grafana. And then to visualize it, there is a huge amount of data sources or database panels that allow us to take all those data sources and get them into visualization that's going to make impact in the organization.
So we did have that one question come up of using the purchased version of Grafana or just just a general question on how licensing works for that. Can
Yeah.
you speak a little to that?
Yeah, so I'm using the open source version of Grafana um, that is free to use, and all of the features that you're seeing in both of the Grafana instances are within the um, the open source offering, the community offering. So they're available as packages for running on Windows, running on Linux machines. You can also run it in Docker, which is how we do it often here, especially if I'm running a proof of concept. The the Docker route makes it very easy because you can couple that with the database. So InfluxDB also has an open source offering. So you can literally get an InfluxDB container, a Grafana container, stand those up, and then push data from an EPIC using Node-RED right to Influx. And you can be up and running on premise, in the day. And then Grafana has a cloud offering as well as their enterprise offering. The cloud offering, of course, is cloud hosted. So if you have a lot of your data in the cloud already, that might be the best path for you. But you can also self-host Grafana and pull your cloud data into it on your local network. So um, The architecture is incredibly flexible, but it is open source, which means you can get up and running and try it out quickly and easily. Um, I can go over a few more things that we have been kind of pushing the bounds of Grafana. So one is for reporting. Um, with Traditionally with Grafana, it is only visualizing data, but the community has pushed plugins now that can actually push API calls out and actually make interactions with a database and write to it. So here you have a file upload, and I can literally upload a CSV file into my control strat or my Node-RED strategy, and it will be sent there over HTTP, processed, and then inserted into the database. And when you do that, it will show up on the table immediately. Um, and so here we made a reporting interface where I can actually report all of our wastewater data for compliance in this particular format without leaving Grafana at all, because this is where our data lives. So now I can generate reports and send them to myself in the format that I need right from the platform, which makes it incredibly powerful. Um, One thing to really drive home is that all the numbers that we're looking at don't come from the same PLC. Many of them don't even come from the same system at all. These lift stations are completely isolated stations um, that don't communicate with the other systems any other way. And all of that is brought in to a database and then visualized here in Grafana. So our lift stations are 3 snap pack systems. These pump stations are Allen Bradleys that are being piped over through the ignition edge drivers and MQTT and then ingested into the database. The plant main wastewater treatment plant is Allen Bradley and a Wonderware historian that is being displayed here on Grafana. So here it's a unifier of a lot of that data that's spread across our organization that we couldn't organize any other way.
So there was I had a conversation this morning with a refinery, and similarly they had Rockwell systems, and yeah, they were had some InTouch systems and Aviva systems. And in that, what we decided was we created a little kit for them, an EPIC kit for chassis with some modules, so that could be their drop in for, they're testing a new lab, or they have a new feature, or they have some new analysis that they want to do here. And we came up with like a little kit for them. Maybe going back to your graphic, what's a good kit or maybe kits that the individuals here watching this webinar today can have, whether it's like what's your favorite kit or items? So it would be like an EPIC with an InfluxDB and Grafana running on a Linux machine, or do you prefer Windows and SQL? What would you recommend for someone that's somewhat tech savvy, and they just want kind of like a kit to be able to copy paste as they try out different projects?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to this particular slide, and if you have a Epic in your system, then through Ignition Edge, you can get connections to any other PLC or even Modbus devices within your system. If you have an OPC-UA server on your on-premise, you can get that data from Node-RED as well. And Node-RED makes it incredibly easy to get it into most databases. So for myself, often if I'm doing a quick spin up of just time series data, I will go with InfluxDB version 2 and Grafana. So Node-RED on an Epic, Influx to Grafana is a very, very easy one to just get up and running. I'm excited about trying out Timebase as well as Victoria Metrics. These are time series databases as well. It really depends on what kind of data you're storing too. If you have highly relational data, then something like time scale, which is a SQL native built on Postgres, uh,
Oh,
may fit your use case. What you want to think about with your data really and the database decision is how do I want it formatted in the end? How much context do I need associated with that number? In time series databases, traditionally, it's very simple. Timestamp, location, value. Um, because it happens at such frequency, we don't want to weight those down. But yeah, my go-to has recently been Node-RED to Influx to Grafana. If you have a small system, it's really quick and it gets you there really fast. Um, Once you start scaling, going to MQTT before you go to your database allows you to point many epics to one broker, and then you can move over to your database, and then everything's in Grafana, which is what we do at scale here in production most of the time is MQTT, and then that gets ingested into Influx like this exact scenario. So I may have 3 or 4 epics pointed at this broker, and then those messages are those topics are subscribed by a ingestion agent, in this case Telegraph for InfluxDB, and then it's written to the database. But there are plenty of enterprise level brokers that offer database connections native, like HiveMQ, and that would allow you to have that broker and your collection agent for your database wrapped up in one. That's a very powerful architecture for scaling large and distributed.
that's it. I'll have a make sure Arlen would like me to remind people that Chariot's another great broker to use.
Oh yes, thank you very much. Yeah,
I
and
just realized. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and of course, one of the big caveats here is if you're using Sparkplug B, you want your collection agent to be fluent in Sparkplug, right? So that has to be an agreement with Telegraph. It's a custom script that I wrote that does take in Sparkplug messages, but that's where an enterprise offering like Chariot really expedites that process. Timebase also the new database offering that's open source from Flow software is
Hmm. Heard a lot of
they
great things
have
about it.
yeah they have a Sparkplug ingestion agent, a collection agent as well. Looking forward to trying that. If anyone has, throw it in the chat. But
And we have a question, and I just realized now we both contribute to the influx to the Grafana community. Question from Grant Pinkos, another
oh
Grant.
yeah.
So I figured you might just it helps to be named Grant to be a contributor in the Grafana community is what I'm finding out. But his question was specifically for what panel you used to upload a file to Node-RED.
Oh yeah. So the panel that I used for that, I believe, is the Volkov Labs form panel. Let's navigate over to it, shall we? So everyone can see the back end of Grafana. So here's my widget. I'm going to hit those triple dots. We're going to go to edit, and you can see business forms is my visualization. Here's where all the visualizations are. Business forms allows you to build a form uh, with different elements. So this element is an upload file element. And down in here, it handles the initial request, what loads on the screen, and yeah, that's how we're achieving it. And then on the Node-RED side, I have an HTTP in node, and this file is pointed to that HTTP node's address. In this case, I have it buried behind a reverse proxy, which is why it doesn't have 1880 and all that stuff. But if you're using your EPIC and your Node-RED on the EPIC, it would be pushing to the EPIC's Node-RED instance. And that's how you do it. And then it comes in as a base 64. You have to decode that message from there. In our case, I have it only accepting CSV files because on the other end, it's pushing to our database and you don't want to corrupt it. So you have to have some safeguards. It's got to be a CSV. And on the Node-RED side, It's also got to be a specific name convention or it will reject the message. That's a
That's
good
great,
question.
especially yeah, especially for the use of CSV. That's my I'm high tech. That's my data source.
Right. And if that's what you got, Node-RED or Grafana can and accept that also. And then Node-RED, of course, can put that in any database that you want or anywhere that you want.
Right. With that, if we have any more questions, we're going to we're ready to wrap up here. I think we're going to do a I'm going to ask you one question or just speak to it a little bit, and that was with when we started talking about doing this webinar, I asked you why it wasn't more adopted kind of by people. It seems like too good to be true. And you informed me that this was heavy used in the IT community.
Yeah.
So, and that's
Yeah.
where it's kind of from. And now it's just seeing so much use and so many people in the OT or in the middle of both that are adopting it. So can you speak a little to that?
Yeah, so what I found most interesting about Grafana is that on the OT side, it's not what as used, and it was originally made for monitoring server infrastructure and your services. So if you're providing a professional software application that is being used around the world, you need to make sure that your uptime is guaranteed and that all of your hardware is working. And so Grafana helped answer that need. And what's interesting to me is on the control side, we've had that forever, and it's called SCADA. It's not called
Yeah.
it's not called observability, but what they ended up building is a wonderful platform for historical analysis when you have dense amounts of data from many, many, many sources, which is exactly what we deal with in the OT side, where we have many devices, many different sources, and this does it in a less of a control way. So if you think about that acronym for
Yeah.
SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition, this is really the supervisory part. This is only looking at that data. We're not controlling, which makes it great for separating that IT from OT, where engineering may need a bunch of numbers. And here you have a platform where you can deliver it to another team that's not involved directly in operations without exposing your SCADA system or
Hmm.
anything like that. So it really makes a clean break between the two. Um, and so yeah,
It's a
that's one
great
of the
point.
things that I find most interesting about Grafana for sure is it really hasn't hit super hard, but there are people just like with Node-RED that are very aware of it within our industry. It's just not talked about as much, I guess.
Yeah. So I have a couple, one comment from Grant saying that it has very robust alerting capabilities. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And if we can make a video of moving IO from Node-RED to database to Grafana, I say yes. If you're up for it, Grant, we can go ahead and do that.
Yes,
Not
and
not right now. For part two.
yeah, yeah. And for anyone who is really looking to do it soon, I have a GitHub repository that I am working on that will put through, and we'll have Opto release that when it's ready. Um, the address I'm going to share it, but basically it is a step by step on how to get through your industrial data into Grafana, and with a heavy focus on using Opto 22 hardware. So I'm going to provide a control strategy that just has a little chart that if you're running pack control, you can put that in and then upload the flow to Node-RED and spin up a Docker container for Influx and Grafana, and you'll be up and running. Um, so it's a good tutorial, and I would really be into making a video of it.
Great. I think that would be of interest. And I think with the last question I'm going to ask what it looks like. The last question is I wanted you to speak to the well, when we were thinking about this webinar, I thought, well, I wonder if, the canary people are going to get upset by this. I wonder if the ignition people are going to get upset by this. But no, it's the right tool for the right job. And like you were explaining, there's no C there's not a lot of C in here when it comes to control for the SCADA part. And you said something interesting about how you use this in combination with Canary, or how you know that it is used. So I think that with the last comment, can you speak to how you see the right tool for the right job when it comes to an ignition, when it comes to a Grafana, when it comes to a Canary?
Yeah, so I know that Canary, for instance, has a dashboarding tool. I believe it's called Axiom. I have never used it. I'm sure it's a good program. Um, in Ignition, of course, is incredibly powerful, and you can visualize time series data on Ignition very well, and it looks great and it performs great. I think if you need that time series data in a small chart on a SCADA screen for your operations staff, um, and that's where they're going to use it every day, that's where you should have it live. But if we're talking about hundreds and hundreds, or even, when you get to like 25 or 50 things that need uh, just graphs and just to be organized with that, then you can have a platform that keeps the SCADA platform, that operational platform, a little more lightweight. That's been my philosophy on when to make that separation. Another one is the right tool for the right job when you're sharing outside of OT. If you're sharing data outside of OT, you don't have to give them access to a custom side of your ignition that's built for the engineers. You can just push all that data from the database into Grafana, and you can have those two systems living in parallel. Um, I think I think that's one of the great things about using it in that way.
It looks like two questions popped up. Do you have a chance to answer them, Grant, or should we
Sure,
leave
let's
those
hit
for the
it.
follow-up? So Jose Barboza asked, is it able to integrate to OSI Pi Historian? And I think I saw that as one of your data sources.
I don't know, but it's really easy to it's
I
really
think I saw it on the data sources one. Can
it's
you pull
really
that one
easy
up?
to find out. Yeah, sure.
There it is.
Hey, there you go. So information on how to set it up, how to authenticate. It's all in here. So yeah, again, Grafana's their motto is Big Tent, a Big Tent philosophy, meaning they'll just kind of drape over all the data sources out there to help get them into a single platform.
Yeah, looks like the last one is Node-RED also being used for ontology standardization before sending the data off to the next step.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it serves as both a filter and a contextualizer. So it helps bring context because a lot of the times if you're working with a pack control strategy, I have one tag and one value. And within that tag structure, it may tell you where it's located and what type of device it is, but that needs to be parsed and those need to be placed in columns. And Node-RED's so powerful, you can have a function node that just handles your particular tag schema and splits it out into those relations to help contextualize that value as it moves upwards in the stack, for sure.
That's wonderful. So we'll call that a wrap. So thank you very much, Grant. Thank you very much to everyone here for attending. We'll be sharing a copy of this recording, and as well as some of the slides that were presented here today. So again, thank you to Grant for teaching us about Grafana, and we're looking forward to making that video next as well.
All right.
TBD on the date. And
Yeah.
so thank you, everyone, and hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks.